Welcome to the Hope in Real Life podcast with Jason Gore. Our team is passionate and committed to bringing you more hope in the everyday, real areas of your life. If this conversation and content is valuable for you, please do us a favor. Like, subscribe, and even share. You never know how valuable it could be to share a little bit of hope with someone else. Let's get the conversation started. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 14, our final episode of Season 2 on the Hope in Real Life podcast. Could not be more excited about this episode. We're calling this You Ask, We Answer. We did one of these at the end of Season 1, had a lot of great responses. And so here we are. We're going to be talking about questions that you as the listeners, you as the audience have thrown to us. And I'm here today back with my good friend, Wade Harris, a.k.a. DJ Wade-O Radio. Wade, welcome back to the studio.
Hey, man, it's good to be back. We got some really interesting questions that came in. I just need to state this for the record. These are some interesting questions, so yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, well, listen, I think we're live right now.
We are.
And so if you are on Instagram, and you can jump in onto the live, and you can still throw in some questions there as well. And our team here is ready to receive those and let us know what they are. And we'll do our best to get them answered. So here we are.
All right, so you ready?
I'm ready to do it.
All right, here we go. So we're going to do some quick little rapid fire questions first. This first one came from a young man named Aiden G. He is in Garner, North Carolina. Okay? Aiden G from Garner, North Carolina.
That's interesting because I have a son named Aiden, so that's interesting.
So this question is interesting because he says, who is your favorite kid?
Oh, man. I know this is going to sound safe. The truth, I don't have a favorite kid. I don't. I will say that each one of our kids, we have 3 kids, Aiden, his sister Addison, and we got a younger guy, Connor, he's 12. But there are certain things that I love about each of them that are different. And then there are things about each of them that are challenging at times, but there's more things that are great than there are challenging.
Sure.
I'll say this though, if somebody wants to be like the favorite for a day, there's things like my truck needs to be washed. There's some stuff that needs to be done around. So, but man, no, we're very blessed. We had 3 great kids and love them to death.
I think Aiden G might still be in this live stream, so he probably, hopefully heard that. Yeah.
He's also at school right now, so I'm sure, I don't know how this is happening, but oh, man.
All right, here's another one.
Okay.
Is a hot dog a sandwich? Why or why not?
What in the world does that have to do with somebody's level of hope?
Maybe someone hopes that they have a hot dog for lunch today. I don't know.
A good tasting hot dog can bring a little bit of a dopamine rush. I'm going to be honest. Okay. It can taste good. Is a hot dog a sandwich? No, I think a hot dog's a hot dog. I don't think a hot dog's a sandwich.
Okay.
I mean, I understand. I know the argument. You got a meat and you got a bread.
Yep.
And so no, I think it's different. I think it's its own category. And I think the real question is ketchup or no ketchup.
Yeah, that's a question.
I think that's the real question.
Yeah.
The answer is absolutely not.
Okay. Well, so what do you put on your hot dogs?
Mustard.
Okay.
Okay. And then it just depends. Then after that, it's like, hey, what kind of mood are you in? Oh. But hot dog requires mustard. And then some days it's onions. Some days maybe it's chili. Maybe it's relish. But man, it's hard to beat. Like good hot dog mustard. I know they're not healthy. I'm sorry. But dang, they're good.
They are good. Yeah. They are good. Okay. Here's another one. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? So, man, we got like controversial questions.
I mean, that's you know. People ask you to pick a side with these questions,
right.
Jason.
I'm gonna say Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Okay,
and I'm gonna tell you why. And wait a minute, what's the real meaning of Christmas? When I think of a Christmas movie, I think at the end of the day, what we're really thinking about is the nostalgia around it. Like, what does it make you think about? When do you want to watch that movie? And if I'm going to make up a stat here, but if 90% of the times I think about Die Hard is in that window of Christmas, then I think it's a Christmas movie, and I think our listeners would have to agree with that, or they're not being honest with themselves.
That's it. I like that answer. Okay, now here's an interesting one. We're coming towards the end of football season. This question is from a Chase G. in Holly Springs, North Carolina.
Okay, I have an idea.
And this Chase G has asked a question. He said, why do you think certain Florida-based teams, NFL teams, not named Tampa Bay? So certain Florida-based NFL teams.
Jacksonville. not Jacksonville either?
Not Jacksonville.
Okay, all right.
He says, why do they tend to shut down in cold Kansas City weather? And again, this is from Chase G in Holly Springs, North Carolina.
Yeah, so here's what's cool about this. I'm a diehard Miami Dolphins fan. If our listeners don't know that, I'm a diehard Miami Dolphins. I grew up playing quarterback in the Dan Marino era, and it's been a hard run, man. It's been a hard couple decades. We finally got a team that's winning games. Love our head coach. And, man, why do they shut down in the Kansas City cold weather? That's hurtful. I just want to say that's a hurtful question. I do think if I'm really trying to answer it, man, that's a tough place to go in and play.
It is.
Especially when you're down in Florida. It's a little bit more warm down there. And, man, you got to – that's tough. You're just not used to it. And you can – the reality is when it comes to competition, you can be mentally tough.
Yeah.
And that's in and of itself, that matters. But, man, it's hard to put on the field what you don't practice. And you cannot replicate that down there. And so I think it's told on them for years. And I don't think it's not so big that they can never get over that hill. But it's definitely going to be a challenge for them. Very funny, Chase. Very funny.
All right. Here's a good one.
By the way,
yes.
How's Taylor Swift doing at those Kansas City games? Is that
Shots fired.
No, I'm kidding. I'm great. Look, Taylor Swift should be able to go to football games and have fun just like anybody else. She's not putting herself on camera. Somebody else is doing that.
That is true. Okay. Fastest wrestling pin.
My fastest
Your
wrestling
fastest.
Pin? The fastest I've ever pinned, or the fastest I pinned someone else?
You know what? I think since you asked that, let's hear both.
I don't know that I remember. I don't know the second one. The fastest time I've been pinned. I mean, over the years, I mean, it happened. You know, there's times where you pin in the first period. I think my fastest pin ever was 9 seconds.
Sheesh.
Yeah, 9 seconds.
Sheesh.
It was under 10. I remember being It was. I was a little frustrated because I think it was closer to 7. I don't think they stopped the clock fast enough.
Oh wow.
That's that was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your least favorite household chore?
Least favorite household chore, without a doubt, the dishes.
Okay.
It's not that I don't. I like efficiency. All right, and we got 3 kids. We got a lot going on all the time.
So you outsource the dishes?
Well, it's not. No, my wife would say I don't outsource it. She would say it's insourced. And I'm all for staying busy, man. The reality, it takes me exponentially longer to do dishes than anyone else on the planet. And so my wife can clean a sink full of dishes in like 2.5 minutes, and she's like, "No, I don't. It takes longer than that." So it probably does. But if it takes her 10 minutes, I promise you it takes me 45. I don't know why. And but yeah, it would be the dishes. And it's mostly because I feel like I'm just wasting my time, and I'm probably being a little bit more overly concerned with the cleanliness of the dishes than I really need to be.
We had a discussion about this on Instagram Live the other day. I don't think anyone likes doing dishes, Jason. So don't feel bad.
No, I feel bad for my wife.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Okay, here's another good one. Speaking of your wife, how do you incorporate quality time with your wife into your busy schedule?
Oh man, you know what we said tell the truth. I might say tell the truth. I'm going to tell the truth. I can't pass on some of these. You don't get like a pass or a phone a friend. Or
you
anything?
can do phone a friend. No, I don't know who the friend you want to phone.
The reality is, I do not spend enough quality time with my wife. That's the truth. It's we get on this podcast, and I want to help people find hope.
Sure.
But man, I think that we have a great marriage. Mm-hmm. Okay. We have a very good marriage. I'd even say great marriage. I know that it would surpass that great if we just spent more time together, just her and I. But man, it's tough, and this just sounds like excuse. But when you got 3 kids and you got sporting stuff all over the place, and then you got your church, and then you've got professional life, and then and we know when we were just talking before the show started. I mean, sometimes, and then life happens,
Right.
and then someone gets sick in the family, or you have a crisis. It's like, man, it is so difficult. So I don't even remember what the question was, other than around quality time with my wife, and I know that we don't do enough of that together. Man, like sometimes quality time is like wrestling tournaments in between rounds, saying, okay, we're going to step out of the gym for a minute and have a 15-minute conversation.
Yeah.
Now, look, we go to dinner sometimes and things like that. I've had a couple of mentors strongly recommend, man, you need the weekly date night thing. And I've failed miserably at making that happen regularly.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But that's also real. And I appreciate that honesty, man.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
Also, if my kids are still listening and still on an Instagram Live, I also want to blame them a little bit as well. And because, I need to feel comfortable leaving them at home and that type of thing. So you guys can just let me know it's okay to take mom out every now and then. Things will be good.
You say you don't want to come home and the Gore residence is
That's right.
in shambles.
I don't think they would tear the house down. I would worry about them hurting one another.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay. That's okay. So while we're on marriage, though, another question we got in: what are the keys to? Because you've been married a long time, you have a great marriage. Like, what would you say are some of the keys to maintaining a healthy marriage, particularly over a prolonged period of time?
Yeah, and you say a long time. We've been married 21 years.
That's a long time, man.
Yeah, it's 21 years, a long time.
I mean, it's not 50, but I mean,
right, that's what I'm saying. I feel like somebody says a long time. Like we got Jay Jennings in here. Jay, how long have you guys been? 48 years. I feel like Jay should answer that question more than I should.
But you got to get to 21 before you can get to 48.
That's true. You got to get to 21 before 48. I think one is recognizing that marriage is not about a feeling in a moment. Even love is not about a feeling.
Yeah.
Love is about a commitment. Love is about a decision. And I'm telling you, my wife and I, and the ride that we've had, even just in the last 5 years, if you just take the last 5 years, it would be difficult if you were to say, if our thoughts around marriage were just around, are we happy in this moment? Because the reality is, there's been a lot of moments where we were not happy.
Sure.
With our circumstances. When circumstances get difficult, we don't always operate in the most healthy ways. So then that means there's things that we don't like about each other and our behaviors and our tendencies and the things that we're prone to do when we get stressed out. But man, one thing my wife and I do have is a commitment to sticking together through it. And to know that this is a commitment that we've made. And so I think the first thing I would say is just realizing that love and marriage is not about a feeling, but it's about a commitment, all right, that you make and you stick to it. The secondly, I would say is just communication. And it could sound like, oh, of course somebody would say communication. It's communication. In my own marriage, and then I do, some pastoral counseling with other folks at times, but the ability to actually have a safe place where you can be open and honest about how you're feeling and what you're experiencing and where your expectations are and if your expectations are being met, and being able, and not just being able to say it, because so many people think communication is just, well, yeah, I'm communicating great. I'm telling you, but are you hearing as well when someone else, have you created a safe environment for someone else to share with you how they feel? And I think that's one thing that's been helpful for us. It's definitely not always been easy, but over the years, we've been able to be honest with one another about things that we're concerned about, fears that we might have, challenges that we might be facing, or when me might not be living up to an expectation that I need to be living up to.
So honoring the commitment.
Honoring the commitment and communication.
Communication.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it.
And probably date nights, but I can't say that I'm doing a good enough job.
Okay. Speaking of family, another question we got in was just around parenting. The Bible calls us to honor and respect our parents. But what if our parents are a little bit difficult? How do you navigate a strained relationship with a parent?
Man, I don't think my parents listen to this. So I've got a great mom, got a great dad, but life's not been perfect.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, we do have a responsibility to honor our parents. I think if there's anything that I've learned over the years, it's that life is hard. And to be a parent is hard. And so to expect a parent to have had everything together every step of the way, it's probably an unrealistic expectation.
That's good.
And life just takes a tax on us. It just takes a toll on us. And so, man, there's got to be a lot of grace. There's got to be a lot of mercy. There's got to be a lot of understanding when it comes to the life that they lived. And like by the sheer fact that we're talking about our parent means that we're still here, which most likely, and I know for some, this is not the case, but for most of us, like that has a lot to do with the fact that they actually did keep us alive and care for us a bit along the way. And so, but man, how do you do it? Gosh, I think again, it comes back to a commitment to honor, right? And then I think, but at the same time, I think putting proper boundaries in place is important as well for yourself and for them, and being able to communicate well and say, hey, this is creating tension in our relationship, and I would like to address it. I'd like us to do something about that. So I think you can honor, but then also have real conversations. And so you're an adult, they're an adult, and so you should be able to talk to each other like healthy adults. The hard part is, and what I've seen and what I've found in families, it's just difficult because in families there's so much emotion that's involved. There's so much history. It's hard to have a conversation about one thing because really there's so much other stuff that's being filtered in. So don't be afraid to have healthy boundaries, have healthy conversations. But at the end of the day, man, we do have a responsibility to ask the question, what does it mean to show honor in this situation?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, let's go here. What has been the lowest point in your life? How did you recover, come back from it?
Oh.
People coming with these heavyweight questions. I'm not.
Oh my gosh, the lowest point of my life is it. I mean, the whole thing's gonna, like, we've had energy up here. Now I feel like it's gonna bring it down. Lowest moment in my whole life.
Ahmad,
man,
you've had. I mean, in all fairness, you've had some moments. So this is.
I'm trying to. I'm really. I want to answer the question honestly, and so I'm really thinking through. I know what there are areas of my life that my therapist would refer to as compound trauma, and so I'm trying to figure out. I'm just sitting here processing through the lowest. I believe in 2018 when my stepdad passed away unexpectedly. Man, that was challenging. I don't even know if in the moment I would have considered. I mean, of course it was a low, but at that moment he was, for all intents and purposes, a primary caretaker for my mom. Her health wasn't great. She just had a back surgery. And all kinds of circumstances that kind of surround this make it difficult that we're not going to get into right now. But that kind of led to a 6-month window of us caring for my mom, of dealing with the hurt of losing, the strength for our family. So I would say that would definitely be one. Is the question, how did you recover?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
I'm still recovering. I don't know, and I'm okay with this. I'm becoming okay with this, but I don't know if you ever fully recover from certain things.
Sure.
I think we'd like to pretend. I think we move on. I think we get stronger.
Yep.
But I don't know if we fully recover. And if we do, I haven't figured it out yet. And so I think I'll carry that one. And I really do. And that's okay. I mean, I've got friends around me. I've got a mentioned therapist. I probably haven't gone, been as engaged with that relationship recently as much as I should have, but as much as I should be. But I've got friends and other family around me. I've got hope in Jesus that he's going to see us through. And he's sustained. So Yeah, I don't know if you fully recover. I think I think at the end of the day, there are times where the best thing you can do is just get out of bed and move forward.
Yep.
And I think God honors that, and I think we get stronger as we go.
So this is not a question from our listeners, but you mentioned this. I think we should stay here a minute. What are a couple of things that you learned from your stepdad? Because clearly, and I got to Hope. Like, I started working at our church right after this happened.
Okay.
And that was one of the first things that people told me.
Okay.
They just said, hey, like, he just went through this.
Yeah.
Like, certain things may, so just keep that in mind. But
Yeah.
clearly he meant a ton to you.
Yeah. One, just steadiness. My parents, my mom and dad were divorced when I was one. And there was, I don't know if my story is like everyone's story. For me, that it was just, that was always hard. It was always weird. Mom and dad, everybody else's mom and dad seems like they're together. He's not around. You see him every other weekend and those types of things. And as the years went on, he started to come around. But the stability that he brought into our family, he was not necessarily the most vocal man, but worked hard, was steady, made sure that our family was cared for. If you needed something, if you needed to talk, he would sit down, he would listen, he would be there. So I think one, just the steadiness and strength to make sure that I had a safe place. I don't know that I could put enough words to that. And so that was that. I think his work ethic was through the roof. He started out working in a warehouse, worked his way up into management, into a leadership role with a propane company, then went and started his own company, very successful business owner. We kind of moved from living life on a farm to moving out to Cary. And so I think
moving on up.
Yeah, man. So I think just the steadiness and work ethic.
Yeah.
And then just learning, like, there's been a number of areas in my life where people have like walked out or done what I would just say, I think what we'd always say would be the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And he was not that. He was the opposite of that. It was just that dependability, that faithfulness, and that steadiness, I think, that impacted me the most.
Wow. That's powerful. Because, here's the thing. You model that in your life. Like, just like as a coworker, as a friend, as one of my bosses, I see that a lot in you. And so that's just significant to hear that, man. Yeah. So you don't talk about this much, but you actually started at Hope as an intern. And once upon a time, you left to plant a church. Then you came back and you served in a variety of roles, and now you are our lead pastor, obviously. How do you balance your ambition with what God is calling you into and assuming additional responsibilities along the way? So many people are always trying to navigate their careers. How have you been able to do that? That's really the question.
Yeah. I did start out as an intern. My I don't know if I've shared this before, but my job and career path through college was, after my freshman year, I started a painting company, and so ran that, made some pretty good money with that, and then after my second year in college, I really was able to kind of let that run itself, and so kind of spun that, kind of handed that over to some friends, and then I went and did a marketing and management internship with Sherwin-Williams.
Okay.
And that was great. And then the summer after that, I ended up as the intern for the vice president of marketing for North America for Sony Ericsson.
Okay.
And so, up and to the right.
Yeah.
And then the very next summer, I did an internship with Hope Community Church as a youth ministry intern. And
so you were feeling that call to ministry.
I was, man. I think I was at a place where I'd spent a lot of time thinking, okay, it's about success. It's about, I want to, just being honest, I wanted to make a lot of money, and was heading at least in that direction. And But I started getting involved in this back then. What was this tiny church in Cary called Hope Community Church, with like 250 people. And I saw that, God was up to something. God, I believe, rescued me out of some things during that time period. I had gone through high school asking a lot of questions based on some other stuff that, I could have maybe given one of those moments when you asked what was one of my lowest moments. But I wanted to provide that steadiness for high schoolers, for those in that time that were, because I had just kind of come out of that season. I was in college at the time. And so got involved in student ministry, man. I'll just tell you, I just got bit by the bug of what it means to help others' lives change and experience the life that I believe God has for them. And so, I ended up in student ministry, and my career path, definitely took a different turn. I think I interned that summer. I think I interned again. And then when I came out of school, I had an opportunity to go be a pharmaceutical sales rep in a different city, ended up taking a job, a management training role with a company called Cintas. Did that for a bit. And then check that. Before that, I went on staff with Athletes in Action for about a year.
Yeah.
And then I went into the business world. And then through that time, though, I was still serving at Hope in different volunteer roles. So as a worship leader, as student ministry, we had actually started a college ministry through that time. And after being at Cintas for a little bit, Hope asked if I would come on staff, essentially as our college pastor. It'd be the easiest way to say it. But my first stint, my first year, I think, was working in youth ministry in college. I moved to college. But then we planted a church out of Hope in 2006. That's right. Yep. So I was there from 2006 to 2012. So this is where I'd like to get into your questions around ambition. How do you balance ambition? And I think when I was younger, around that time period, call it circa 2003 into 2006 and even into the church planting, I don't think I did balance ambition.
Wow.
I do believe there was a time it was like, hey, the goal is to grow the church. Let's have a big church. Let's do. And when those become your focus, when those become your goal, how you do what you do changes a little bit.
Sure.
And I can, this is probably a whole nother podcast in and of itself, but through the end of my time there, I think it's possible that some ambition or some desires, not necessarily personal ambition, but even just ambition for what it was we wanted to see happen.
Sure.
Clouded some judgment. It definitely impacted some relationships. I would say I learned how to not handle yourselves in seasons and in moments of conflict that I really believe prepared me for the journey when I got back to Hope. And so if you're really getting into how do you balance the ambition, I would say, the Bible, so our listeners, they believe a lot of different things. I'm sure of it. We all do. I believe when the Bible says that we should do all things as though unto the Lord. And so that should be our ambition. That should be our focus. And when we get that part right, when we get it like seeking first the kingdom of God, it says, and then all these things will be added. Like I kind of just went through the season where I realized through that time period that it's very possible to do the right things the wrong way. And you can hurt a lot of people and if you're not careful. And so if somebody's asking this question, like, how do you balance ambition? I would say, I would kind of turn the table and say, it really depends on be careful what you place your ambition in or what you're ambitious for. And so if I'm ambitious for being the most godly man that I can be, the best husband that I can be, the best dad that I can be, the best coach that I can be, the best pastor that I can be, the best brother that I can be, then all these other things, as best I can tell, from the butt are going to be added unto me. And so I would say it's not a matter of balancing your ambition. What was the question? Balance your ambition with what?
As you take more responsibility.
Okay. Yeah, so as I take more responsibility, what I learn is my ambition, if the question is just about as you grow from intern to lead pastor, your ambition has to change to what does it mean to be a servant?
Yeah, it's good.
Because at the end of the day, leadership is really about serving other people.
That's good.
And it cannot be about how do you build your own kingdom. And I've seen a lot of folks get caught up in that. And man, it does terrible things to them as individuals, and it does terrible things to people around them. And I'm not saying I get it perfect, but I am saying that I've done it the wrong way, and I've learned some lessons. And by God's grace, I think I've gotten it at least a little bit more right. And I think myself and those around me get to experience a little bit of blessing because of that.
That's good. That's good. While we're talking about church, work, ministry, ambition, another question from one of our listeners. How do you plan for the future on a low income?
How do you plan for the future on a low income? Man, that's a great question. I think I'm not a financial coach, but I am a believer in actually knowing what your goals are and writing them down and then being realistic.
Yeah.
And so the truth is, it costs a lot more money to live right now than it did 5 years ago.
Yes, sir.
There's just no getting around it.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And so, I'd love to say, hey, listen, we can all live on less than what we really think we need, which is true. But I also want to be realistic. I mean, it costs more to live right now. So I would say that if someone is really in a lower income situation than they want, but they have hopes, you've got to do the hard work of writing down your goals. You've got to do the hard work of writing down what you're spending your money on. And then you'd better identify, and then you probably need to write down in the middle, what are the things you need to be doing to go towards your goal.
Yeah.
And man, if there's things that aren't on that list, and I was going to say that are on the list on the left, because in my mind, I'm writing this down.
Yep.
You got to cross those things out. I mean, you're going to have to drop some things, but you're not going to know what to drop until you actually evaluate what it is that you're spending your money on, evaluate what it is that I need to do to accomplish my goals in light of what our goals are. So you need to know what you're trying to accomplish, and you need to know what you're doing and if it's pushing you in that direction or not.
Most people don't like doing that budget, Jason. That probably stepped on a couple toes, but that's the reality. You can't get there without knowing what you're doing with it.
We've got an episode or so about that maybe they could check out.
I think we do. You can check out the episode with George Camel. That's a good place. Okay. Here's oh man. I don't think we wrote down who asked this question, but this is such a good question. If you could sit and talk with one leader from history for an hour, who would it be, and what would you talk to them about? Not Jesus, because I know. Not Jesus. We know you would talk. You talk to Jesus all the time.
Let me. I know, but not in the way like sitting down and looking. So I'm going to tell you. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
If I really could, any leader.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying this.
Yeah.
My answer really would be Jesus.
Sure.
What that guy did. I mean, and it's changed the world. It's changed the world, and so. Man, there's just certain things that you read about in Scripture that I want to be like, man, what was it like when that happened? And I just, so there's, but I can't say that. And so, so there's all kinds of people. I'll give you a couple, and then how about I give you a fun one?
Okay.
I'll give you what it really would be if it was like today.
Okay.
So, Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
All right. Come on. I mean, great leader, led our
through crisis.
Country. Yeah. Okay. So plenty there. And then, what does it mean to lead through difficult times? I think would be a part of that question. And then, man, I think you got Martin Luther King Jr.
Sure.
I mean, goodness gracious.
Sure.
The passion and the zeal of what he held on to. And obviously it cost him.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what it is, and Jesus living for what he believed cost him something too. So I don't know what it is about me and my journey that kind of draws me into conversations like that. But the fun one I would give is he's actually still alive today, and who knows, maybe one day we'll end up having him on the show. But the head wrestling coach of Penn State University, Cale Sanderson.
Okay,
I think that guy is. First of all, he kicked my butt in college, but he kicked everybody. He kicked everybody's butt. He never.
I didn't see that coming.
He never lost a high school wrestling match.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
He never lost a college wrestling match.
Really?
4-time national champ, 4-time most outstanding wrestler. Went to the Olympics, won the Olympics, Olympic gold medal, and now he's the head coach at Penn State. And I think his dual meet record, like which is one team versus another team some of these numbers are going to be off just a little bit, but I think it's like either over the last 8, 9, or 10 years is something like somebody in here, maybe you can Google it, Penn State's wrestling, but I think it's like 123-1.
Wow.
Or something like that. Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, it's just
okay.
And so the guy knows how to handle his own business and he knows how to lead. And what I love about him and why him specifically, because there's been plenty of people that are successful. Like Bill Belichick's been successful, but I don't know that I think him sitting down talking for an hour. Have you seen his press conferences? But what Kale does, he preaches every single one of his kids. You hear them talk about our culture.
Jason,
That's right. That's not going to be fun for. But at Penn State, like their culture is work hard, play hard. Like work hard, have fun. Have fun, have fun, have fun. Everything they do is have fun. It's like they don't feel any stress. They don't feel any pressure. They just go out and they let it fly and they let the cards fall where they may. And like I think that more of us, I know I could.
Sure.
And the type of culture I want to create in the environments that I've been entrusted to lead, I want to create an environment like that where, we're doing big things. We're going to accomplish big things. But, man, we're having fun. We're letting it fly. There's no stress, there's no pressure. So I'd love to sit down for a while and talk with him about how he's built that culture and what's helped him be able to build the culture, that type of culture the way that he has.
Look, you're making me. I'm about to look this guy up as soon as we get done recording this podcast.
What do you got?
It's as of January 21st, 50 straight dual meet wins.
50 straight dual meet wins.
Previously, they held 60 straight.
60 straight.
I don't see an overall.
Okay, all right. Well, that right there is 110. That's 110-1. So, yeah.
Very impressive.
Cale Sanderson, maybe we need to get him on.
Let's work on that. Okay. You ask everybody this at the end of each episode, and I want to flip this on you a little bit. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's the first one.
Where do I see myself in 5 years? Let's think. So I'll almost be 50.
Yes.
I'll almost be 50.
Yes.
Where do I see myself?
Well, you'll probably be planning your 50th birthday party.
That's right.
Well, there's one.
I hate planning parties.
Okay.
I absolutely hate planning parties. I think, where do I see myself? I see myself in the same house.
Yep.
I see myself in the same neighborhood.
Yep.
We're living on the south side of Raleigh, Garner.
Yep.
Same home. I believe I'm still married. I think at that point, 5 years, we're 26 years in.
Let's say 26.
Yeah, that's right. We're 26 years in. I think I'm still in the same role as lead pastor.
I hope 5 so.
Years. I mean, God could do anything. You know, there's a lot of different things he could do.
Yeah.
If it's not, it's just because if I'm not, it would be because I think because myself and some others thought maybe there's somebody else who's better for the role. I'm not saying that I think I'm certain that's not the case today because someone would have told me. But I hope we do have an elder meeting tonight. We'll see. I think it's review time coming up. But no, I think so because I think in 5 years. But what I would like to be, I would say this: I'd like to be spending more time at that point, equipping and empowering and coaching more leaders around our country, in whatever that means. So I think my impact long term, I would like to help leaders find more hope, help leaders create environments where their teams can actually experience more hope in what it is that they're trying to accomplish and do together.
Love that. Okay, last question.
And I'm probably, let me say this too.
Yep.
I hope in 5 years, my twins will be in college and Connor will either be in college or almost college. And this is not from me because I want it, though I do enjoy it. This is because of what their goals are. I hope that I'm traveling around watching them compete at the next level, whether that's football, wrestling, and being able to watch a little bit of NCAA action.
Based on what I've heard, I think there's a very good shot of that happening in one of those avenues. That's just my non-expert opinion. Do we? We do. Okay.
Before we ask our last
Okay. No, let's get to our questions.
So Haley is letting us know that we have some questions.
We have some
on the
questions
live feed.
from the live feed.
All right, one question. Do you have a favorite vacation spot?
Favorite vacation spot?
Oh my gosh. So look, I want you to, when I said I don't do the quality time thing, well, it's not because I don't want to. And I actually love nothing better, very few things better than just turning everything off and relaxing. So my favorite vacation spot that I've ever been to is a place, I went there on my honeymoon, and then we went back again. I don't know, I'm going to get this number wrong, but like 5 years ago with some very close friends. But it's called Swept Away Resort in Negril, Jamaica.
Okay.
And I like it I think in Negril, it's boasted as like the largest beachfront with the lowest occupancy ratio. So there's not a lot of people there, but they've got like 4 different pools. I think like 6 different restaurants.
Wow.
It's all inclusive, which for my wife is a big deal because,
Sure.
well, for me it's a big deal because my wife doesn't like to spend money.
Yeah.
But like once it's spent, it's like
It's done. Yeah, it's done.
And then
Get you some jerk chicken in the grill.
Oh my gosh,
That jerk chicken.
Get
That
to
jerk
Jamaica
chicken.
right now, man. Jerk chicken, that jerk grouper.
Right. Plantains.
So I could be argued. I think like looking at pictures, I could be argued into like French Polynesian islands.
Okay.
All right. 'Cause
Okay.
that's kind of the
Okay.
same thing.
Okay.
But for the price point,
Yeah.
and want to talk about the budget that you lived
There
on
you go.
for earlier, that's
There you
probably
go.
going to have to be a little further.
We
out.
got these ministry budgets.
That's right.
All right, 2 more.
So Swept Away Resort, if you're listening, I would love to come and hang out there for a week or so and talk about you on the podcast.
Sponsor the podcast.
So the follow-up question to that was, if you had to live on the island with one meal to eat forever, what would it be?
Grouper.
Group. Okay.
Yeah, fish or whatever their freshest catch would be there. But yeah, without a doubt, it would be fish every day right out of the water.
All right, and how do you combine being both a pastor and a coach?
The question is, how do I combine
Your face right now.
how to combine being both a pastor and a coach? I think I'm almost the same guy in both places. The answer is I approach my pastoral role and my leadership role probably more as a coach than most do. And I'm probably honestly a little more pastoral in my coaching approach than most coaches are. And so I think who I am doesn't change. Now, do I yell more when I coach than when I preach or when I'm in staff meeting? Yes, I do. Do the joggers that I wear both to work and to go get a little bit more worked up when I'm coaching? Yeah, they find their way. And so
You probably use some different language too. I'm just. You know,
I
I'm
would,
just
I would,
guessing.
but it is a, in the coaching scene, whether it's football, specifically in the wrestling community, very tight knit community, a lot of people know what I do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an ongoing joke. Like I'm telling you, there are times where I do get a little bit more worked up in an official than I'm proud of.
Yeah.
But there's also times where I show restraint and hold back because I'm like, man, I know that this would probably not be a good look on somebody else's live video feed.
That's how I was going to say. It's videos everywhere now. Everywhere.
And so, but I would say, yeah, I mean, it's tough, but I think I approach the pastoral role from a little bit more coach side, and I'm probably a little bit more pastoral on the coaching side. Like I really want that, whether it's an athlete, a young athlete, or an adult in the business world, if I'm off, I want them to know, like, first and foremost, you're cared for. This is out of an appreciation. This is out of a love for who you are and what it is that you want to accomplish. So, and yeah, I probably need to work on my language sometimes when I'm coaching.
We all do. Okay. All right. Here's our last question. What are you, Jason Gore, on? I won't tell the date because this will air at a different date. But what are you most hopeful for right now?
What am I most hopeful for? Let me word it. Can I say, what am I hoping for?
You can do that.
How's that?
I mean, this is your podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
what am I most hopeful for? One, I say the most important thing to me is that, first and foremost, that I love and lead and serve my family well. And so I am hopeful for a life that follows closely enough to Jesus that it points my wife and my children in the direction that is going to allow them to experience the abundant life and the purpose-filled life that God's created them for. And so there are days where I'm more hope filled that I'm doing that than others.
Sure.
But if you just said the most hopeful, and then beyond that, Wade, like this, what I get to do in serving, and I say this in so much humility, in the lead pastor role at Hope, and coaching the environments where I've been entrusted to coach, whether it's football, whether it's wrestling. I believe that there's so much brokenness and hurt in the world around us right now. And I also know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that is not what we were created to experience, is our everyday norm.
Yeah.
And so I am hopeful of creating environments and giving the best of myself to that end. That in whatever environment it is that I'm in, I'm bringing the most possible hope to. So whether it's leading the church, whether it's in my family, whether it's in my community, whether it's on a sports team that I'm leading. But I mean, that's really the heartbeat of what this podcast was birthed out of, right? I mean, I'm in the room right now. We got Red in here, Maud, Haley, Elenia's not in here today, but we got Jay, like yourself, so when I talk about like the Hope in Real Life team, just so everyone knows, that's largely who it is to our listeners. But we talk about how do we bring the most amount of hope possible to the everyday real moments of the lives of our listeners. And we didn't say, let's start a podcast. We said we want to bring people hope. And we thought this podcast would be the best way to do that. If a better way comes up to do that, then man, let's go and try to do it. But man, I'm hopeful for what we're doing, the work that we're putting into this podcast, that it actually would impact our listeners. This is not about, going back to that ambition thing, this is not about how do we build subscribers, which you should subscribe, you should like, you should share. But this is about how do we actually bring hope into people's lives who desperately need it. And so I'm hopeful for a movement of a tribe that just wants to not only receive this hope, but also share this hope with other people. And so that's what I'm hopeful for. And then if I could add one more to it, I do believe that the culmination of that hope, I believe, is only possible through a relationship with Jesus Christ. And so, like, you know me, like I'm a pretty open guy, pretty transparent guy. Like I want this podcast to be a podcast that anybody can listen to, regardless of their religious beliefs, regardless of where they are in life, and they can find a bit more hope than when they started.
That's good.
Right? So having said that, I personally believe, short of a relationship with Jesus and understanding, like, there's a God that loves you so much and he created you to experience one life, but like, man, we've all gone off and done some jacked up stuff. And because of that brokenness in our lives and other people's collective brokenness together, like, it just makes sense that the world's not going to be what it's supposed to be. But God didn't want to leave us there. And he doesn't ask us to earn our way back to him, which is like, that's why we're all stressed. That's why we're all anxious, because we're trying to earn something. We're trying to put things back in a place that we really don't have control over anyways. And so realizing that God sent his son to teach us how to live. What the Bible says is to pay a price that we deserve for our sins, that jacked up stuff that we did, that brokenness, that he would pay the price for that through a death on a cross, and then go into a grave, to a tomb for 3 days, and then 3 days later, raising from the dead, overcoming sin and death so that we could have that restored relationship with God, so all that brokenness could be put back together. I just don't know. And look, I'm a David Goggins fan. I'm these guys that are like, nobody cares, work harder. And I get it. And like, that's some of my best advice for people sometimes. But at the end of the day, you just can't work anymore.
Right.
So, at some point, it runs out. And if you don't have Jesus, I just don't know where the hope comes from. And so we can put plans in place. We can balance our checkbooks. We can know what our budget is. We can go on enough date nights. But man, at the end of the day, we just run out of gas. And if we don't have Jesus, I don't know where it comes from. And so my hope would be not only that this podcast would be for everybody, but it would also move them along in their journey towards a relationship with Jesus and the hope that that can provide.
Man, I just want to say this, man. Like, I'm thankful for your vision for this ministry, right? Like, I have a lot of conversations with friends in ministry, outside of ministry. There are very few churches that are attempting to do what it is we're attempting to do through bringing people hope through a medium like this. And not just with the podcast, with the app, with all the other things that we're doing. And I think to have that vision of like, man, we want to do whatever it takes to bring people hope, even if we got to do some things that are a little uncomfortable or a little unorthodox or a little whatever else other word you want to put under after is significant, man. And I just want to thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, I would say that you said thank you, so I'll say you're welcome. But I will say, like, all glory to God. Like, I don't think I've done enough to earn the right, the privilege to be able to do what it is that I get to do, and then to get to do it with a team like this, man,
Sure.
makes it like just. It's like, man, how can we not get it done?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, humbled to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
So who's wrapping us up? We got this last week. Who's going to wrap us up? Hey, it sounds like this will conclude season 2 of Hope in Real Life. I hope this episode has been valuable for you. One, to get to know us, myself, I guess, a bit better. And you wrote in the questions, so I'm assuming that they're good and it's what you needed. Looking forward to season 3. Please like, subscribe, share this content with other people who you think actually need a bit more hope in their everyday life. And then if you have topics or things that you want to cover, want to hear us cover in season 3, you can DM us, you can leave a comment, plenty of different ways you can let us know. And we would love to follow up with you if we can, and or make sure it's in season 3. Wade, thank you so much for everything you've done. Team, thank you for everything you've done to make season 2 a hit. We love you guys, Hope in Real Life listeners, and we will see you next season.
That deserves a round of applause.
Yeah.
Clap it up, clap it up.
Oh, man. That was so funny. Jason was like, who's wrapping this up here?
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Hope in Real Life podcast. If this content was valuable for you, don't forget, like, subscribe, share. You never know how important it could be to bring a little hope into someone else's life. There's even a place here for you to comment. We would love to hear from you and hear your feedback. Until next time, let's keep sharing hope.